So Kiefer, let's kick things off. What inspired you to get involved with coaching?
So I spoke to Luke a little bit earlier. I think my childhood experience is like I always absolutely loved football. I was obsessed with football. Massive Liverpool fan.
Here we go. No, he's dropped that in 13 seconds into
So obviously, growing up as a Liverpool fan, you had all these brilliant experiences where you were winning things and winning Champions Leagues and stuff. So you wouldn't know, So like for people that support other clubs, unlike Tottenham, that happens. So I've really just loved football and loved how it made people feel.
Yeah.
Like I always say to people, well, when I go to football, I don't go to watch the match or I'll just love being around people and the atmosphere and the celebrations. And I always had that as a child as well. So my dad was always like involved in the football club. So he would take the senior team, he would coach younger teams, and I would always then be sitting on the side or go to him for training sessions, and we'd be sitting in the change rooms and stuff. So I would always love being around football and being around the sport. Yeah. Then wasn't a great player, like bang average if even. So but liked playing, like enjoyed playing, but then got to a point where I was sort of 15, 16 and really just fell into coaching, and that was just the thing you done when you got to that age. You continued playing, but you said, right, go and take this team or go and help so-and-so do this, and then just done that and kept doing it, and then really just snowballed from there and fell in love with it.
When you obviously were coaching when you were younger, or when you first started coaching, was it just football or was it other sports? Obviously GAA is big in Northern
see Gaelic football, actually that was like my first ever coaching certificate. I'd done a coaching Gaelic football level 1. The club would put that on and put us on it for me and a few other people, and that was my first coaching experience. So I then coached Gaelic football teams and got into that. I didn't start coaching like football until I moved to England. Soccer, So I didn't start coaching football until I moved to England, and actually I remember my very first time coaching like a match with like children was in Denmark or Holland with you. And I remember like absolutely panicking, thinking I've never done this before. I'm taking these kids on tour, and there was like a little bit of banter around who was going to win and bring home the first trophy, and I was like, oh God, like who kicks off? So my first sort of coaching experiences were all Gaelic football, and then just sort of fell into football.
So obviously you've gone from coaching Gaelic to coaching football back. What is it that you think maybe are transferable, or what is it about coaching that you can take from one another and that are consistent throughout?
100%. So I think in terms of like coaching style and philosophy and stuff, the biggest aspect for me was Gaelic football has this big volunteer aspect of it, so it's really community based. Everyone volunteers, everyone gets their hands in and gets stuck in and helps out, and that was for me one of the most important things when I look at grassroots football and why I love coaching so much. It's the passion behind why people do it. Like people don't get into football coaching to make lots of money or to be their career. They do it because they absolutely love it and they want to give back to their club or their community. So I always just love being around that and being around people like that. I think you can learn so much from them, develop so much, and just being around really good people and all that comes with that, I think is the most important thing.
So your coaching journey then has obviously gone from Gaelic, done a bit of football, you mentioned Cambridge United. Just tell me a little bit about that and your time there, and I guess the coaching side of your time at CUFC.
Yeah, so I had a few different coaching roles there as well, in terms of probably coached a little bit of everything, gymnastics, fencing at one point. I remember doing fencing, hockey, netball. We had one other sport that was a bit like netball but wasn't called netball, korfball. I'd never heard of it before in my life, but this one school in particular were crazy about it. I remember like Googling the rules, and dance. I've done dance classes in PE, and was really just thrusted into a role where I wanted to work in a football club. That was the only role that was available. Well, actually, I didn't want to work in a football club. It was the only job I could get. And I ended up getting it and just got stuck in, was buzzing then the fact that I was working at this football club and I could wear the badge and the tracksuit. So anything anyone asked me to do, I just done. Like I had this thing growing up where my mum and dad would always say to me, when you've got a job, then if someone asks you to do something, say yes, and then that'll stand you in good stead, and you'll get more and more opportunities. And I always firmly believe in that, and I'm still really passionate about that. I think that's really important. So then I would just do anything. Like if people asked me to go and do a session, go and do this, I'd say yes, I'd go and do it, and then that opened up more doors and more opportunities, and everything really just snowballs. I got to work really closely with yourself. Obviously, had its massive benefits and a few downsides to it.
Yeah, I gave you your first ever coach.
But yeah, you give me loads of chances to go and coach. Like, so you'd say, Keith, can you go and coach in this session? And I'll Google it, and it'd be 3 hours away. And I'd go and do it. But it would be like that doing that and getting involved in the sessions then just opened up more opportunities to get involved in the academy and different roles, and that's where it really had developed. You know?
I think more importantly than that, one of your superpowers, I was speaking to Carl earlier, and a lot of my coaching journey and development is watching others, and like you said, you just steal the best bits from everyone else. I steal so much from you, and one thing I think you're in particular like 10 out of 10, like superstar at, is your adaptability. And you can have maybe a child that you meet for the first time, a child that you've known for 3 years. You could be coaching part of the topic, and then suddenly something else happens, and you need to adapt to that, and that will just come from coaching dance, coaching netball, korfball, whatever the name is. And I think that really is one of your superpowers. Is the fact that you can deal with so many different children within a group but still make them all feel really special. I think that's such a great skill and so important to have.
Thanks, Jonny. I appreciate how tough that might have been for you to say.
I think that leads quite nicely into obviously what you're doing now within your community with the head coach role. You're doing unbelievable things. There's so many children that you've coached during your time with the FFF that you've made such a positive impact on. What are you excited about now going into the management franchise?
There's probably two main things I'm really excited about. So number one is to be able to coach and have an impact on hundreds and thousands of children in the local area. So to be able to provide unbelievable experiences to so many children who otherwise might not experience football in the way that I believe football should be experienced. And then number two is being able to provide opportunities to football coaches. So without people like yourself and Ross Brooks is a guy who gave me my first job, and James and Luke and all of these people that I Cambridge in those early days give me opportunities. I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't have had the chance to coach and to do what I do and make this my career. So now I think it's up to me to be able to do that for other people, so to be able to give other people a role and a job where they can then coach football and make that their career and do that for a living. That's my next big ambition, is to be able to do that for other football coaches.
So you obviously mentioned around the impact that you want to have on the children and coaches. So linking a little bit back into coaching, and what would you say your coaching philosophy is, and anyone looking to get involved, whether that be a coach perspective or a child's perspective, what would you say that your philosophy is all about, and what would they be getting involved with?
Yeah, so I always think this quote that always sticks with me is that, like, never be a child's last coach. Like, I've heard that sort of years ago, and I always have that in the back of my mind, and I always refer to that. Like, my worst nightmare is a child attending one of my sessions, something happening, and then that putting them off football and them not playing football again. Like that's an absolute disaster. I think that's the worst case scenario. So for me, my ethos and value is always just about putting smiles on faces, making sure children, they see football as this incredibly fun thing that they do, where they make new friends and they learn different things, but it's just something that they actually look forward to every single week. So if they've had a bad day in school, or something's happened in family, or whatever it might be, that football's the one thing that they know they can go to and have an unbelievable time and love it. And they're buzzing to see the coaches, they create that sort of relationship with the coaches. It's just something that they remember for a very long time. Like, ideally you want them then to have a love of football in their later life, so they go on, they support football teams, or they play football for a very long time, or they get involved in coaching or refereeing or whatever it is, but they just have a lifelong love of football. So I think just having unbelievable experiences for every child that attends is the most important thing.
Mate, and that is why you are such a brilliant part of Football Fun Factory, our ethos, our journey, our mission, because all of the stuff you just mentioned is what we're all about. Things all around the wall, you obviously can't see them on camera, but you've got great magic moments for parents and children. I inspire children to fall in love with the game, and you epitomise all of those things brilliantly, and I'm absolutely buzzing that you're going to be a management franchisee.